Most parents think the goal is to raise independent kids, but financially, that's exactly what the banks want you to believe. I'm Kyle, and I help people build financial frameworks and systems around the world of banking, tough money, and generational wealth. And one of the greatest tools or assets that you can use at your foundation to accomplish all three of those things is a properly structured whole life insurance policy. Now, I'm going to have a conversation with you today about the family banking business, an idea that was so compelling and so attractive to me because it brought in multiple areas of life into one conversation. It brought my family a spiritual component. It brought me a personal development component. It brought an upgraded family unit component. It brought more financial cash flow to the conversation. And this is literally what I get to do for an occupation, which I love teaching this concept. It's my all-time favorite subject to teach. Now, if you don't know by now, I'm a big believer in this idea of the 5 areas of life, meaning you have to have strong purpose, abundance, and excellence in all of these areas, spiritually, personally, family, financial, and in your occupation. When you have this going for you, you are living such a compelling and fulfilling life. It's one that you never truly want to retire from. So the goal of winning financially is to go fund the other missions in your life, and family banking will allow you to control and create additional cash flow income streams that will allow you to have better, deeper, more spiritual conversations with your family. And this is one of the greatest ways that I have found to create generational wealth. So before we jump into the actual family banking conversation, I want to do a quick recap of just the world of banking in general and why I love teaching about this. I'm a parent. I've got several kids right now. They're all fairly young, and I'm the steward of them financially. My wife and I are. And all of our children, we don't get to choose, but they will decide themselves if they want to be an employee, self-employed individual, business owner, or investor. That's their choice in life. Now, what's non-negotiable is understanding the world of banking, since that'll influence all of my children, no matter what player in the money game they decide to be. All of them will be one of those 4 players. They will save money somewhere. And typically, we just let a commercial bank own this banking function in the center of your screen. And then when our kids, whether they're employees, self-employed individuals, business owners, or investors, when they need things in their life, vehicles, weddings, college education, mortgages, we go to the bank and we borrow money to finance those things. And this is a conversation around control. You see, if you're at a current financial position now and you want to go to an upgraded financial position in the future, owning and controlling permanently dollars that will flow through your life, which is one of the benefits that whole life insurance will provide you. It is the greatest banking tool that we have ever found. If you have that asset in the right place and you own this center function, this banking function, you will control more dollars permanently on your destination to more and more wealth. And it's one of the reasons why we couple this conversation with financial management education. You've got to have tough money management and good discipline around money to be successful as an infinite banker, a business owner, an investor, as well as an employee and self-employed individual. And once you couple the right financial management habits with this idea of owning banking, which is why this book should be a must-read in your library, you're going to see an entirely new financial realm, lots of opportunities to create cash flow that you just weren't seeing prior. And it was because of the way we think. It doesn't have to be this way, but it is because of the way we think. Now, here's the reality. All of our kids are going to go out and finance vehicles in their lifetime. They have to do this. And whether they pay cash or finance, they're going to spend roughly $400,000 on 13 vehicles. That's just kind of the national average. And they're going to have zero to show for it because we don't understand the world of banking. If we're thinking like employees, self-employed individuals, business owners, or investors, money is constantly transferred away from us and ends in someone else's banking organization. If we learn how to own this function for ourselves, which is why you should go find the video on my YouTube channel called The $1 Million Car Mistake that almost everyone makes, you'll see how this is possible for you in your life. Then you just apply it to a family level and you're going to see millions of future potential cash flow dollars arrive for something you were going to do anyways. So you can literally spend the same $400,000, run it through a more efficient environment, and keep and control way more dollars in your lifetime. So we're going to take this quick concept of banking, and now we're going to apply it at a family banking business level. So one of the reasons why I love this conversation is when you are first starting out raising your family, you might have a few young kiddos like this, and the family is in a very dependent state. These young kids, they need mom and dad for everything. And this is a leadership conversation. It's why I enjoy it so much. I think we all want the best for our kids. We want to empower them. We want to be role models for them. And this is one of the greatest ways I have found to stay close to my children long term is through a leadership conversation. Now, what happens as these kids grow up a little bit and they get some independence? You see, they turn 18 years old, they go off to college, they start a business, maybe they go off and do some service work, whatever it is, they might fly away from the big family unit, if you will, and they're going to go start on the path to independence and create their own family unit. And when they do this, there's nothing necessarily wrong with this, but this is celebrated as a proud moment in our society. We want our kids to be independent. We thought that was the goal. Now, I want my kids to have independence, but financially, I want the family to stay closer together because here's what's going to happen financially, and here's why the banks love when this happens. There's kind of like this invisible brick wall that gets put up between generation one and generation two. Now, our kids go out, and what do they need? They need things like vehicles. Now, all of them will drive about 13 vehicles in their lifetime, spending roughly $400,000 doing that. And the reason the banks love this is because all of that cash flow moves away from generation one, and it flows right into their pockets. And essentially what's happening here is we're giving up the leadership conversations and the stewardship around financial education. We're letting someone like Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America take on this role. And I don't think these banks have our best interest at heart. It proved me wrong on that. Get into a financial pinch and see if one of these banks comes to offer any type of support. As soon as we don't make financial sense to these banks, they will literally kick you to the curb. That's the reality of it. I want a different relationship around money with my kids. I think there should be a spiritual component involved in there. This doesn't mean we entitle and we give more than we should to our kids. But I think this is one of the greatest ways for our kids to reach their max potential and figure out their unique abilities earlier in life by having access to private capital, as long as the relationship, the trust, and the infrastructure is there for the family unit. Now, what's interesting about these big banks, those numbers at the bottom of your screen, Bank of America, $24 billion, Wells Fargo, $19.5 billion, Chase Bank, $12 billion. These numbers represent how much cash value these banks hold on their balance sheet. They're the largest buyers of whole life insurance in the world. So if the banks love this for the economic benefits they receive, shouldn't we be thinking, if we want to own a banking business, let's just model this after the best bankers in the world, which are commercial banks, and then let's just develop our own leadership principles into that conversation, and you're going to have the most exciting, fulfilling time operating this family banking business. Now, here's the interesting thing about opportunity cost. If our kids send this $400,000 away, we don't just lose $400,000 of potential cash flow for generation one. We lose what could that $400,000 have earned us if we ran it through a more efficient environment and controlled it permanently, which is a banking conversation for the rest of your life. And that becomes about $1.5 million per every $400,000 spent on vehicles. Make sure you go and watch that video on my channel, the $1 million mistake, car mistake that people are making. So if you got 3 young kiddos, this is a $4.5 million lost opportunity cost. So if you're thinking, where are we going to get retirement income? Where do we find these cash flow sources? A lot of them are sitting right in front of you, but we don't see it because of the way we think. We're not thinking like bankers. We're thinking like business owners, investors, self-employed individuals, or employees. And if we want more control in our life, we have to start getting educated on the world of banking. So let's turn this conversation on its head. Let's say I've got these younger kids now, and I'd really like to keep them closer together. I want them to have their independence, but I want to work more interdependently as a family unit, especially when it comes to the finances. Now, my kids are going to have their own lives, their own spouses. They're going to carve their own path in the world. But I can create this private banking system, this ecosystem, my own financial world with my family. And the reason this was so compelling is if my kids know I have built a private banking source of capital that they could have access to, now when they need to finance things like vehicles, because I've already taught them this stuff, the leadership's there, where do you think they're going to go when they want to request money? Going to go to generation one and borrow it from my wife and I, and they're going to pay the same $400,000 they would have sent to a bank, It's just going to go, it's going to flow up to the family now, not down. And now, since we know exactly where to store that $400,000 of cash flow per child over their lifetime, we're going to earn close to $1.5 million with no risk inside those whole life insurance policies. And now this $4.5 million is now all retirement income, passive income, however you want to look at that. It's controlled by generation one. That helps you do the things that you want to do in your life. And here's the greatest part. Why would our kids want to do this? How would we incentivize this behavior? Number one, hopefully they love us and they want to help mom and dad because we raise these little human beings for a very long time. So that would be an awesome value add back to generation one. But watch how cool this is. One of the benefits of whole life insurance is this death benefit. You see, the more our kids pay into this system, we're going to replenish whatever they paid with that death benefit that's been building the entire time. So let me frame it to this way. Imagine if you went to a commercial bank and you said, hey, I'd like to make you a deal. If I use you for the next 30 years for all my vehicles, mortgages, weddings, college education, business startup, whatever it is, and I borrow money from you, Chase Bank, would you send me a check reimbursing me for 100% of the principal and interest I paid you over 30 years? And the bank's going to say, oh my gosh, we'd love to do that. Please use us. That's cash flow for us right now. We'd love to replenish that in the future. Now, if any bank made you that deal or said yes to you bringing that opportunity to them, would you go to any other bank? And the answer is absolutely not. If a bank offered you that deal, they would have your loyalty for a very long time. The coolest part about this is if you do this and you're a parent who loves your children, you want the stewardship, you want them to stay close, just interdependently as a family unit, but you want them to do their own thing. This is one of the greatest ways that you can transfer wealth generation to generation for things that our kids have to finance anyways. And it's why you have to couple this with the right financial management education. Undisciplined kids, kids that were not taught proper money foundations, are not going to be disciplined enough to use this system. So this is not an entitlement program. This is not the family banking charity. This is the family banking business, and it will be the greatest financial win between you and your children. They will literally bring you cash flow, and you can literally reimburse them through this death benefit. What an amazing system to be participating in. And the greatest part is you get to build whatever vision, values that you want into this family business. Are you going to use that additional money to travel as a family? Are you going to use that additional money to go give and take your kids alongside you to go solve the world's problems? Can you use this to have more resources to upgrade the family's mental health, personal health? There's so much more we can do now in this conversation because it's tied into multiple areas of life.